Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Benjamin Kitt, and this is the Legless Tripod. I am joined by the wonderful.
I'm supposed to introduce myself like that.
I didn't look at either of you.
Which of one of us
It was
is
a test to see
wonderful?
who thinks they're wonderful. Really, I'm with Tom and Ellie, by the way. Just
Hi,
you know,
guys.
Hello.
Legless Tripod. We're out here today. We went to
We're
watch.
out here.
This is the first film we all watched together, I think. Yeah. So we went to watch Eternals. I don't know if anyone's heard of the film. It was Marvel. It was big. Had a pretty solid cast. And got some of the worst ratings ever in Marvel history. Bravo, Eternals.
Well done.
Tom hates Marvel, so we thought we'd take him along with us. What was your thoughts going in? What was your thoughts going in when you were like on your way there? Jogging along the pavement. What were your thoughts?
Thoughts going in, I was going to hate it. When I got there, I hated it. And now I'm reflecting upon it, I still hate it.
Woo!
So it's. I mean, I feel bad for any listeners, to be honest, because I do not have anything good to say about this film. Actually,
I do.
I think I have one thing.
I think there were good parts. There were a lot of bad parts. But the good parts looked really good because they were in comparison with the absolutely abominable bad parts.
It's good pronunciation there.
I find this film so hard to criticize because I really liked Nomadland, and I think Chloe Zhao is a good director, and I know that this film is probably just bad because of the execs at Marvel. That
We all know this.
They have like Kevin Feige has such power over the universe. He cannot.
This is why I dislike them, because it's so formulaic.
It was all
Shot on Steadicam.
long takes on the Steadicam.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think for the cinematography, obviously I don't know that much, but it did seem a bit more like artistic in quotation marks than a normal Marvel film. Like Chloe Zhao definitely had some kind of
influence.
input on the visuals of it
This is what I was
beyond a
thinking.
Marvel film.
I feel like I could tell in the actors. There's an element of humanity in some of the characters, in some of the moments when they're bonding with each other, or with additional parts of the cast, and I feel like that is her influence. But what ruins it for me is it's just like, I mean, first thing we saw when the film opened was action, was a big fight sequence, and it's like, what has built up to this? Like, we've just sat down and
A
it's
lot of
like,
Marvel
whoa, a
movies
big
do
fight
that,
sequence, but then you get 5 minutes of peace, 5 minutes of getting to know these brand new characters, I think, that we've never been introduced, and then again you're in another fight sequence, and it's like, I don't know who these and maybe I'm overthinking it because it is Marvel, but I don't think that should like subtract from the fact that why does Marvel get a pass from having to introduce characters like every other film on the planet ever should? You know what I mean?
They did do a bit of a DC here.
Yeah, to be fair.
Like what they did with Justice League, they've done that here.
Yeah.
But they've just introduced too many characters at once. This film could have done better as a two-parter. Like,
Oh, I
Yeah.
fucking hate two-parters.
I know-
No,
Why?
two-parters,
Why?
no,
Because I
because
saw fucking June last week.
Yeah, but
They-
why do you
Well,
hate the two-parters then? Because surely, if they condense the whole thing into one, if what's his name who did June, directed Denis Villeneuve, if he condensed that into one big film, like
introduce all those characters, it would have been shit.
it would have been shit.
Yeah, it would have been
I do
shit,
agree.
but
A
I
lot of
was
people
in
have been
love.
saying it's like a trailer for the second film.
I think it's
which,
a trailer for the second film, but I think two-parters, it's like, I don't want to watch something initially that makes a
What
two-parter.
about
I think it's
Deathly
fine.
Hallows
You should,
Part 1? Best Harry Potter.
but also they had about 7 follows into that. You can have a
Yeah,
contained story within itself without making it into a two-parter.
I just didn't like it because it was just lazy. It's like, here you go,
cheap.
let me just put my fucking spoon in the jam jar and shove this in your mouth,
But
and
then-
you've got to read all this and take it in. And it was like, well, this is bollocks.
The whole film I found, especially like the first act and third act, was a shit ton of telling and no showing.
Yeah,
The amount of
exactly.
times they just explained things
I know.
like word for word, like they were feeding a fucking baby in the audience. I was just like, what the fuck is this? You literally have a sex scene and then you're like explaining everything as if you're teaching year twos. It was so stupid.
And also everything they said in it, they then told you, and then the opening credit like showed. Then also it was then revealed. Like they said it to you, then it was revealed to all be twisted. But I think we're kind of shitting on it a bit, and we're shitting on the start of it. What did you guys think? Because I kind of enjoyed like
the good parts of the film happened right. So there was a bad section at the start, and I think
it just took a while to get going.
Yeah, I remember really like waiting for it to start getting going, because I always have this thing where like the first scene of a film is never going to be the best scene. That's just when they're setting up characters, and it's always shit. They're going to do really cheap stuff, especially when it's a feature film where they're trying to get 8 characters in. So that was always going to be cheap, and then I found myself waiting for fucking ages until what I'd say the mark where it started getting good was the Bollywood scene. Right. That's when the writing...
That's a very long way into the film.
I know. It's almost halfway. The writing only started getting good, in my opinion, when they did the Bollywood scene. And then after that, it was quite good. All the stuff with Druig, I don't know if I might just be a Barry Keoghan fan. But
is he the actor?
Yeah.
He creeps me out a little bit.
The way he... Yeah, the fucking way he did the character, the stance and shit was so
annoying.
No, I liked it. The kind of like drooped shoulders.
He seemed so against everything. And then when they went into where he was living in that village for how many thousands of fucking years, and then they changed his mind in like 5 minutes, and he was like, "Okay, well, I'll fight with you guys then." Okay.
No, I kind of disagree with that.
His opinion was like he didn't like humans fighting against each other and wanted to create a more civilized society. And he had the power to do that, which is fair enough. Like the other Eternals didn't really have the same power as him. Like it was a completely different ballpark.
Yeah, no, I get that.
So I understand his like need to shape a better society, because he was the only one that could do it realistically.
Also, I think
same with Phastos as well.
Kind of interesting, like the Druid character. Like I feel like I'm pronounced the Druid character. At first, I just thought he was like
Try again.
Druid.
There you go.
At first I thought it was kind of annoying, but towards the end, I really loved him and the Deaf Girl's relationship.
Oh, I love them both. Two of my favourite actors.
That Deaf Girl is like my favourite character, but I should probably actually say her name.
She's Lauren Ridloff. Oh, the character is Makari.
Lauren Ridloff, much love. But also, what was I gonna say? He kind of seemed angsty, but I think this is the first film where like, obviously, if you had the power to mind control people, if you look at that from an ethical point of view. That is so loaded. Like, obviously, you're stopping people from dying if you tell them not to kill each other, but it completely eliminates free choice. Yeah. So I thought this was the first film where halfway through, like, has introduced these ideas of mind control and free choice. So, like, also kind of adultly, like, they've been dealt with, like, childishly before, but it actually got me thinking halfway through. And I thought that was, like, a very interesting point. Like, it felt a bit more mature.
It's also weird that the Eternals were, like, kind of placed on Earth to deal with deviants and deviants only, and he could only control
people.
Humans. Yeah, when he what was his power supposed to be used for? Could we not
have infinite amount of questions about these characters that have just been put on Earth when there's how many millions of other planets out there?
I thought the whole point was that there were different ones who were put elsewhere because that they went to other planets, then they went to Earth, so then...
But did it explicitly say this in the story?
Yeah.
This is why...
Like,
but the end when they go to the spaceship...
Celestials.
Spoon-feeding, fucking reading you out a novel.
No, I think you're being too harsh.
I don't think I am. Like, has anybody watched the second Kingsman? He goes from Britain to America, and it just cuts straight away. And it's like...
Don't all spy films do that, though?
Yeah, but that's 8 hours, and there was no indication of time. He was wearing the same clothes. He was still covered in blood. Mm-hmm. This is sort of links to my point. Why did we flip back from, like, present day all the way back, and then here, and then there? And it was always subtitled, and it was like, this is the Amazon, this is Israel, this is 5000 BC, this is present day. I can tell it's present day because I've got fucking mobile phones. Why do you need to subtitle that?
I just want to have some positives.
There are none!
Have your right.
It's a fucking Marvel film.
Hold back the river, my son. Hold back the river.
I can't, it's getting hard.
I have neighbours.
Yeah, well, they can hear me run.
Okay.
Cersei. Let's start with her. The green one.
Thanks.
If that's going to help you.
Gemma Chan.
Gemma Chan.
The main woman.
The British woman who got with the British guy.
Who's beautiful, but kind of did have a bit of wooden acting.
This character was the most like main character girl energy. Like I couldn't stop noticing it. How annoying like main character she was.
I love how this is when we're going to talk about positives.
Everyone said her name like every 5 seconds. It was like Cersei, 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 Cersei. Whenever they came up to her, they wouldn't just like talk to her normally. They would always say Cersei at the start or end of the sentence. So that annoyed me.
We're talking about positives.
Okay, positives. Yeah. Let's move on to another character so I can say a positive.
Wait, I'll say a positive in retreat to that. I have a weird obsession. This is a bit of a weird positive, but the set design was sick. Like the settings were sick, and I'm just gaining that because I love Babylon. I don't know why. The Gardens of Babylon has always been, since I was younger, my favorite ancient wonder of the world, and the fact they had it set in there, I really liked.
That is a positive. Like
that set was beautiful.
The thing about like you can't. There's nothing in the film where you can think that was out of kilter of this film. Like there's no point where you can say that wasn't meant to look like that because everything is so specifically structured. But again, I don't know if that's a good thing.
I mean, I think it was a good thing because I think the set design and I firstly feel that the settings they chose, as we said before, it goes through history and it goes through time. But also you're kind of following the journey of humanity and going through that, it kind of makes sense. The set design I thought was really nice. The settings were really nice. And I even think in the cinematography, like there were, as much as it was maybe sterile, there's a few shots which you did, if they were screen capped, you'd be like, oh. Specifically, I'm thinking of when one of the characters dies and they have his funeral, and it cuts to like when there's a bonfire and they're burning his ashes and all the lights and so on. It moves from one beautiful shot to another one, and I do think it was a very, very pretty film.
But I think in terms of cinematography, like a few good shots doesn't make up for the rest of this shit. Like when every single conversation is filmed on Steadicam on a 35mm,
I do think
and it's
it was
all slightly moving, it's just fucking boring.
Yeah,
I understand you can't shoot a conversation in many ways, but to do it all in the same manner for the entirety of the film,
I mean, I agree with that. I do think they were pretty shots, but I do think in other ways it was sterile. But Ben, do you have another character positive?
Have we moved past the character conversation?
Hold on.
Positive.
One more thing about camera, because you said it was sterile. I said camera movement is so shocking it feels commercial.
I could kind of see that at some points, but I feel like I'm being a bit too harsh.
The majority of the Marvel movies, though.
No, because all the Marvel movies are the same.
No, I genuinely don't think there was one shot where she was hugging someone, or they were hugging after a fight scene, and it gave me very like it was like purple in the sky. I think it was like dusk, and they were silhouetted, and it was very like it went from a close up to them standing up, and it kind of followed them, and it was like you wouldn't see it in a Marvel film. It felt a lot more personal than it would in any other Marvel film. So I think in general it could be sterile.
But in that,
that shot I literally noticed it and I was like, this feels very like Nomadland, like actual personal filmmaking, and it caught my eye a lot. But Ben, carry on.
Right, characters. Let's get back to the characters.
Yeah, well, how did we?
Massive segue. I don't know what happened there. Icarus, Richard Madden.
Love.
Which one was that? I'm joking. I'm joking.
The hot one.
Fuck the shut up.
I'm
joking. I don't know how I felt about him because at the start he was really shit, and then the Bollywood scene did change his character. He started getting good after that.
Did he though? Because there was a scene where he was stood staring off into the distance in the valley, and you laughed at it. You laughed at it, and I thought that's like Fred from Scooby Doo.
It was fucking silly, wasn't it? It was. I genuinely think the problem.
After the Bollywood scene.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. There was a few, but the problem with that shot, for some reason, it got me so much. But I think it would have been completely fine if it was like shot from behind him. You know what I mean? The fact that it was shot from in front of him, he was just standing there looking into the distance. It looks so silly. Anyway.
For our viewers at home, these guys don't know what positives mean.
Okay. What did you guys think of Icarus?
I thought Richard, I don't know. The first time he came on screen, I was going to make a note saying he reminds me of Homelander.
Yeah.
From Boys.
Big Homelander
And
vibes.
I was like, no, Ellie, you're being a bitch. You're being too presumptive. I'm sure he'll be lovely.
And then he did.
Guess who was right? He gave me major Homelander vibes. I'm going to be honest. I don't think Cersei's or Icarus's, e.g. Gemma Chan's and Richard Madden, two like stunning actors, two really good actors. I don't think their performances were that good.
Richard Madden's definitely a C+. In terms
I
of
think
looks.
Gemma Chan's was worse.
We're
firstly, you're
acting
wrong.
here.
We're talking about acting.
Sorry, you said stunning. I disagree. Anyway,
I think
he is
they're both
stunning.
Do you know what I did like?
Stunning,
Do you know what I did like? This, I mean, if this is one positive, that character arc where he sort of like stabbed him in the back and he actually killed the leader, like that was good. I like that.
I actually thought the betrayal, and it did feel a bit decent.
The betrayal was
I
good.
thought the betrayal
And he led them
plot
along all the
twist
way.
of it, the fact that was a plot twist, and it was like, oh,
That
he
was
knew
good.
all along, he betrayed, he actually killed her. I was genuinely surprised. I thought that was actually like good in the narrative. That was a strong point.
Should we give them ratings? Should we give the characters ratings?
What are we giving that? What do you mean? Are you basing it on performance? Are you basing it on narrative arc?
Everything. The character as a whole, performance, blah blah blah. Cersei, I'd give her a 5 at most because she was such a main out of 10. Yeah. Oh. She was such a main character. Like, oh no, everything's
I feel
up
like
to
I'm
me.
betraying Gemma Chan though. I really like Gemma Chan.
But I liked her in the start.
She's
when
been on the fucking planet for over centuries, and she didn't work out the extent of her powers. I think that's absolutely stupid.
Yeah, but that's the writing.
Yeah.
That's all right.
That's not a character.
It's still a character arc.
Okay, well, what are we talking about here? Writing or acting
that's what I said.
performance?
We're talking about
everything.
performance, narrative, everything.
Well, that consumes multiple people.
I know. I'm consuming everything.
This is a lot.
Cersei was a 5. Icarus, I don't know what. He was a decent villain.
I would say when he became a villain, he became a lot more interesting. Also,
Yes.
Richard Madden.
The ending. I've just remembered his ending.
Okay, the ending.
When he flies into the sun.
Yeah.
Oh, I've just realised
Close
that.
to the sun. It's
Bro,
so silly.
I
That was
have a
silly.
note
That's
about
fucking
that.
stupid.
Okay, so
I don't like
spoiler,
that.
sorry,
Where do the names
but-
come from? Where do the names come from?
it's from Greek mythology.
Yeah, no, I know it's from Greek mythology, and I know Icarus flew
Is it
too
all from
close to the
Greek
sun.
mythology?
Well,
but,
I assume so, 'cause
do the names have
Athena-
any link deeper in terms of the story, just rather than
So
Marvel said this?
it's a case of Marvel wrote these characters so that they kind of put the effect in history. Like what they said about how
they were
Sprite told
part
the
of
story.
history of
Sprite told the
Icarus.
story of Icarus to the Athens.
So, Sprite or Sprog, whatever the fuck he's called.
Sprite.
I have got that written in my notes as well, because at the first it was really hard to tell what
I
his
thought,
name was.
I
Her
thought
name was,
fucking
whoever they
Angelina
are.
Jolie's name. I thought she was called Dina, who's a
I
war
thought
of
she was
God.
called Dina.
I thought because she was a war of God. Then I thought it was Athena. Then she said drop the A. So then I was like,
Yeah, it's
Athena, Athen, and then I was like, oh no,
It's
Athena.
Athena.
But that's what I mean. I think it was more that mark on history.
This is why. This is why I excluded myself from the vote, because I was like, well, I'm just gonna label everyone as 0 out of 10 because I didn't like this film.
Okay,
and you're telling me I'm being too harsh.
I think you're being
what was the budget
if
for
we're
this film?
critiquing the names, when there's actually in most films, the reason you give someone a name
Based off
is you need to have a name. If there's actually reasons behind the name
Yeah, but
that
it's a
builds
bit
into the
cringe,
plot
innit?
and now.
To
The
call someone
Icarus
Icarus
flying
and then
into the
fly
sun.
them into the sun, that's
No.
cringe.
That
That's
was cringy.
fucking cringe.
But also, I think it makes.
Isn't he immortal? Surely he survived.
I
flying
do
into
think
the
the
sun.
I don't know, the
ending
sun's
of
quite hot.
him. I made a note. I think I refrained from using the word yeeted, but my note was, did that bitch just fly into the sun? And I refrained from yeeted. I do think that was a bit cringe.
It was like.
But I think you're being.
especially if you call them Icarus.
I think you're being a bit harsh by saying, why are their names related to Greek mythology when
No, I'm
most
not
names
saying
are
that.
screenplays
I'm not
of
saying that.
this?
I'm not saying like the Greek mythology thing is bad. Like, I mean, you've got to pull a name from somewhere. You can't not name them. And
Thor is all about Norse mythology. as
exactly.
well,
But
so
I'm
Marvel
just
suck
my only
off
point
mythology.
is to call them Icarus and then fly them into the sun is cringe.
That was cringy.
Next character.
Anyway, I would give Richard Madden maybe a 6 out
Maybe
of
not.
10 because I do think he was quite wooden at some points, but I think when he became a villain, it was good, but also it was
was a good
still
villain.
wooden at some
He was a decent
points.
villain,
It
yeah.
made it a lot more
I
interesting.
did like the character
Athena.
arc.
Angelina Jolie. Athena.
I actually her dementia arc. Well, I'm gonna call it dementia arc because
Is it
I don't
dementia?
know. Well,
It's I think meant to be dementia, but they
I
called
don't
it by
know
something else
what it
in the
actually is,
film.
but I feel like it could allude in, like it could.
If we're relating it to humans, it is
Yeah,
literal.
I've forgotten
like,
the word.
it's meant
like,
to be
Dementia, but
related
she gets
to-
angry instead of forgetting things.
Well, no,
No.
people with dementia get angry.
Because imagine if you
Oh, I
forgot
don't know, it
everything.
varies.
Yeah, because you've forgotten everything. Like, that's what I mean. Like, I'm not sure. I feel like it was a metaphor for dementia, and I actually feel like it worked really well. Like, I actually felt it was very heartfelt. The fact she forgot these people around her and she tried to hurt people. And imagine if your loved one forgot who you were and forgot everyone and tried to hurt you. I felt that was actually quite, like, nice. And she was also
Angelina
a good actress.
Jolie performance I've ever seen, if I'm honest.
What else has she been in?
Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
She's really good in Girl Interrupted. She was in Maleficent. I thought she was going to be like the main character in this because Angelina Jolie, she thinks she's a star, but
she was
you
really
were saying her
side.
performance was good.
It was a good performance, and I think the character was decent. I'm surprised they didn't go into it more because it's Angelina Jolie, but
it was okay. I think I gave it a bit too much hype before. I think the
kind of
narrative
liked
was
how they
interesting,
did it.
but it was okay.
Yeah. So I'd give her a solid 7. To be fair,
I was about to say a 7.
It's a
as
7
well.
character.
Don Lee.
What?
That's her partner, who you don't think is a romantic
Well,
relationship.
Gilgamesh.
Was that romantic?
I thought
to
it was
me-
mildly
to me-
platonic.
What do you think? Because I thought it
I
was
thought
romantic.
it was platonic. There was no romance shown. The only thing was like they lived together and then they had that moment where
They were sitting next to each other in the woods. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I mean
They
I
were
saw
chatting.
it as romantic, but maybe
that and
She was-
also one
she was
at
like,
the end
"Thanks for-"
before he was eating. I don't know. No, when she was killing him inside the, what's he called? What the fucking aliens called? The bad guys.
Deviants.
Deviants. That's the one. Stupid name.
Oh yeah. And
Wait,
his voice was coming out of the deviant.
Yeah, and she was like, "I'm sorry," and then she killed him.
I mean, I thought it was romantic, but I can understand your reading of it as platonic. That might just point to my.
Because
I don't know.
The
It's just personal
defects,
interpretation
You're
of a
just baiting.
story.
I love him. He was the sweetest. His personality was so nice. And
But then
when
he made
was
a
like,
shit one-liner, and I hated him.
what
No.
one-liner was it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It just and then you just reminded me of a worst part of the story when he was turned into the baby costume. When someone put the baby costume,
Yeah.
that was
It was a
A,
mess.
shit CGI, and B,
It was
a
quite
bad
bad.
one-liner.
I
Fuck this film. I'm going to the
loved
toilet.
Gilgamesh. I would give Gilgamesh, the love of my life, a solid 8.
Okay.
I think
To be fair,
the
he
scenes
didn't
was
do
in.
he didn't do anything wrong. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to disagree with you there.
And also, the scenes he was in, I thought he was very convincing and very loving.
Yeah.
He
was a lovely-
dedicated
He's a
himself.
lovely fella. What about Ayak? Okay, this pissed me off.
You hated Ayak.
No. Just the pronunciation. Ajak. They kept on saying Ajak. I guess that's how it's possibly said. But like, for instance, like the place Ajax is Ajax, and that's pronounced Ajax. Like, I don't know.
What?
You know the football team
Yes.
Ajax FC.
Yes.
That's pronounced Ajax. It's
It is
AJAX.
pronounced Ajax.
Her name is spelled AJAK, and they pronounce it Ajak.
Yeah, but
Ajax.
was it from?
It's
Yeah.
Greek, I'm guessing.
I mean, I'm not going to comment on the pronunciation because I don't know.
Just annoys me. I feel like it should be Ayak, because the J.
Because of
generally-
a football team.
Because of a football. Because is it? Where's that football team? Is it Turkish or something?
Netherlands.
No, that's way off. I don't think she was well fit for the role.
Can I ask a question? How
No.
do you pronounce her last name?
Hayek.
Hayek.
She just wasn't that well fit for the role. She just didn't give off vibes
I think she
that
did.
fit the character. Like I would.
I think she did. I just don't
see
think the
her-
writing was there for her.
Yeah.
I think the only time the writing was there for her was her last scene with Richard Madden.
Yeah.
When she was talking about we've got to do this, we've got to do that. Before that, I just don't think the writing gave enough because I do think she's a talented actress.
I also thought
I just don't think it was enough.
I think the character was a bit cringy. The whole I'm a powerful eternal that understands, thousands of centuries of intelligence, but has kind of got weirdly connected to the human race because the human race is so special and wow, they do all this shit. It's fucking stupid.
What character is
okay?
this?
Ajak.
Oh, yeah.
The one who was the leader. I do think the last scene was her best scene, but
What about
I'm sure she gets very offended by us talking about
Yeah.
her with her millions of wealth.
Sorry, Salma. What about who should we move? Druig. I liked Druig. I'm a big Barry Keoghan fan. I can't diss him because he's a lovely guy. You've watched him in Calm with Horses,
Yes.
Tom.
Thanks.
And he's in Killing of a Sacred Deer. He's in.
He likes animals.
He's in American Animals.
No, well, Barry Keoghan was fine, but I didn't like his character because he was like all moody and teenagerish and horrible, and he was like, people.
You know what?
I like to save the people, and you're not letting me save the people. And then all of a sudden, after thousands of years of saving the people and having his own little community, all of a sudden, he was like nice to the people that he'd once been horrible to and didn't speak to for thousands of years.
I feel like my issue was with Barry Keoghan.
Yeah.
That took me a while to get over, I'll be honest.
Who, Barry Keoghan? He's not that good looking.
I'm not going to say it was my issue,
Someone
but I
died.
just found him a bit like... Because firstly, my issue was like, he was just being an angsty teenager. And I'm sorry, but I don't have time for angsty teenagers. Like, they fucking annoy me. And like, I kind of get his point. He has a very valid point.
He does.
But
he was the first one to kind of challenge the authority.
Yeah, he was.
I think he has...
In that scene where he got proper shouty at Ajak, that I was like, oh yeah, go on. Because... Yeah, because that was the first thing that I probably thought, oh, this is actually good acting from this.
Yeah.
It was the first time it felt like they were allowed freedom to actually create kind of characterizing parts to these characters. Yeah, it felt more human than anything else because he was allowed to just go off on her and just like absolutely question her authority.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, go on then. I admit, yeah, there were some parts where he did seem a bit angsty. He did seem a bit like, you're not letting me control the humans and make them happier people.
He was like a sim player that wasn't allowed to do everything he wanted to do.
I mean, I think my issue was I didn't like the actor. I'm going to be honest again. I didn't know him that well.
Who?
So,
Barry
like,
Keoghan?
Barry Keoghan. I don't know him that well.
He's a good actor.
Yeah.
No,
Watch
I'm
more
sure
films
he's
about
a
I feel like
him.
you
really
can tell
good
that though,
actor,
just from the
but he kind of
performances.
threw- like,
He's probably one of the better actors in the
I
film.
thought
Yeah.
he
Like,
was
better
good.
performances.
I do think the cast is really good, but he kind of threw me off. And then when it was an angsty teenager, I'm going to be honest, I was very much an angsty teenager. I have no time for them. I have zero interest. If an angsty teenager is presented in front of me, I don't fucking care, like, at all.
Okay.
But
so
at the end, I actually quite liked him. When he had his romance, when he actually became a person who actually cared about things and wasn't just like, oh, I hate the world. Even though he had a valid point, it was undermined by his angst.
that's a hot couple, that is.
When he had
Lauren
his last
Ridloff.
point, I
Ridloff.
was like, damn.
And Barry Keoghan is a hot couple.
I have a note written down that's written, they're hot.
Follow them both on Instagram.
Anyway,
Course
so
you do.
I like Druig. I would go with
Say it
6,
again?
maybe. Druig.
Okay.
I got the fucking
I'm
Wikipedia app.
I'm saying 8 out of 10 because I'd love him.
I would give him maybe a 6.
Okay, we're...
Solid 5.
Kingo?
No.
Who?
Okay, Kingo. Yeah, the Bollywood guy.
Oh, yeah.
I love that Bollywood scene. That was actually kind of really fun.
It felt like
and the fact it was in a Marvel movie was cool.
It just felt like the film was getting good from there on out because the comedy started picking up a bit. 'Cause beforehand, the comedy was shit.
Are you joking?
No, but I know his comedy.
Are you joking?
I know his comedic part was a bit like cringy one-liners.
His issue was he was clearly put in as the comedic character. I do think some of his
Comedic
comedic relief. I do think some of it pulled off. I think the Bollywood scene I thought was incredibly fun. I thought the fact it was in a Marvel movie was also very fun. I think he was okay.
I found it really fun
I think his ending was a bit shit.
Did it not
It
take
was-
the piss?
It was really fun to imagine him behind the scenes, like doing that all the time with his finger guns, because like. You take the CGI away, he's just going like that, bang, 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 with finger guns, because that's literally what his hands are
This
doing.
is getting cut, but for some reason I imagined a testicle rolling up his hand.
That's weird. That's
It's getting
weird.
cut. It's getting cut. I don't know why.
I mean, I would take
I
it.
don't know why.
I would give him a 5 out of 10. I
Did
think
anybody
some of his
think?
lines
Did
were
anybody think he
successful.
disappeared?
No,
When?
that's what
Why
I
Was
was
he in
Yeah.
the fight scene at the end?
I'm gonna be honest.
That's quite true.
I kind of see what they were doing.
He
Like,
disappeared.
oh, he follows Icarus. He believes in Icarus. That should be the leader. Like, I see where they were coming from.
But then where
But
did he
it wasn't-
go?
Yeah, it wasn't strong enough.
No.
Where did he go? And also, why did he really do that? Like, I get what they were trying to do. But in the ending, I think they kind of failed the character a bit. I think it would have
was
been...
a bit like
I did think how it was interesting how they had his character who was like influenced by all of the others in a way.
Yeah,
so Icarus and Sprite, he was just.
But they made him personable and they made him like likable.
Yeah.
And he wasn't necessarily evil, or he didn't have any bad opinions where the audience was.
He had quite a balanced ideology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he was like, "Oh yeah, I sided with Icarus," and then he went off and was evil. But I mean, Icarus and Sprite, they were both evil. And you saw them be evil because, they were a bit villainous because they sided with Icarus, the bad guy. You know, they were working together to stop. Hold your thought. They were working together to stop the people from saving the planet, and yet he disappeared and he couldn't work with the bad guys to save the planet. And every time I say a point, you two look at each other and you're too eager to fucking say anything.
Because I'm agreeing with you.
Okay. Thanks.
Same.
Okay.
Is that what you wanted to say? Cool.
No. Oh my god. So I agree. I think I get where the character's history is coming from. I agree with Ben. It was interesting that he follows, but I agree with Tom.
He just disappeared.
He disappeared. He
invisible.
firstly, in film and from watching films, it's more interesting if this character who's like a comedic relief takes a heroic stand. Then also he didn't really do anything at the end, and also if there's a character who was a comedic relief who you actually related to and enjoyed, seeing him take a heroic stand would have meant a lot more.
I've got a question.
He should have done.
How many characters have we got left?
I'm not sure, but
I
just want to say his power felt like a stun gun in comparison to Icarus. Genuinely.
It was a bit useless, wasn't it?
He was going pew pew pew.
I would have given him a 5 out of 10 maybe.
I'll give him a decent 5.
No, I'll give him a 4, maybe 3.5.
Fastos.
He was cool.
Brian Tyree, the guy from Atlanta. We watched Atlanta the other day. Paperboy. Do you remember him?
That's the same guy.
I know.
He's got a very good range.
He's got an insane range. He was in the Joker as well.
Shit.
Was he? Who was he in the Joker?
He was the guy who gave the documents to him. You know, when he tried to snatch the documents away from him about his mother.
I saw the Joker in 2019 when it came out.
Huh?
I saw it when it came out. I cannot remember this.
Okay, fair enough.
Explain the scene. And
wait, in the Joker? No, never mind.
This is silly.
Fastos was one of my favourites.
Yeah,
up there
it was
with
a good
Barry
one.
Keoghan.
It was a good one.
You know the whole family thing?
Yeah.
It's obviously been done in
I
Marvel
found that
and
weird.
been done with everything. I thought the way they positioned
he's
him...
lived for that long and he's caring about
then
his
he
family
settles
still.
down.
And
but
he's still
maybe
caring
he
about
couldn't
family.
No, because also maybe he never had the opportunity to have a family, and maybe he could never come out as gay until the current political climate. But also, he was clearly obviously
What about Greek?
with something.
Greek? What about Athens? They were that was completely norm.
I think this is a silly point. If you're going to hold that against the film, realistically, it's not that big of a deal.
I know what you mean. I just think it's weird that he's still caring about human life. Any of them still caring about human life at this point.
I feel like that's
if
such
you
a
compare it to
But I said
Doctor
this
Who,
at the
for
start.
instance.
I said this at the start. I wrote this down. I said, why when they were talking about something in the beginning, they were like, we've been here for 5,000 years. And I was like, well, why did they stay?
Because they can't leave.
If they thought they'd killed them.
Because they had that mission.
If they thought they'd killed them, why did they stay? Why were they still here?
Because they had to be told
I know.
to leave.
Hold on, it's coming. And they said, we've not been told to leave yet. And I just thought, that's got to be weak writing. Come on, that's got to be so poor.
Yeah, it was a bit weird that they stay in there.
And I know they've got some big god, but one of them can fly. I don't know.
Well, yeah, Icarus never flew anyone anywhere. He when they were traveling together, they get cars, and Icarus can fly, and he flew like Gemma Chan somewhere, and then that was it. The whole film, he could have just flown people across continents, and he didn't. And that really confused me.
It could have been dead cheap as well. He could have been like, do you want to get to New York in 10 minutes? Sick, come with me.
Yeah.
Tenner.
Easy
tenner.
Why didn't they do that?
I don't know.
I'm going to say, going back, I thought it showed the family dynamic as a means to want to help these people survive and also want to not fight the most successfully. And I thought it seemed incredibly loving, and he showed that kind of love. I thought his performance was really good. I thought his character was a bit boring until it reached the 3/4 points where his family was introduced.
The bit where he
it was okay.
the bit where he had Richard Madden tied up, That was fucking sick.
That was cool.
That got me really hyped. There were certain parts where he got Richard Madden tied up, where Druig was like, "Fuck this, I hate you all," where Makkari was like punching Ikaris like to shit, the speedy girl, where she was just like, so good. Can we move on to Makkari next?
Should we rate?
Oh yes,
him?
Fassos.
I would say 6 out of 10 purely because I think he was
9.
I think it was one of the better parts of the film, but I think the film could have given him more content, and I think if he had that content, he would have crushed it.
I would have been much happier if he was one of the main characters, like Gemma. He could have easily replaced Gemma Chan.
If he was replaced, I love Gemma Chan, but if he replaced her, that would have been cool. And also, you're not gonna have like
swapped.
Swift.
I said accent.
I have no reason to not give him a really high rating.
He did do,
but I don't want to give him a 10 out of 10 because I don't think it was a 10 out of 10.
You don't have to go 10, but also his performance, like, and I feel like the themes he brought and the humanization he brought to the story was the most humanizing and best and personal aspect.
It was a better storyline than Gem.
I tell you what I didn't like is when the bomb had gone off. We flashed back to 1946 for
that was a
no
weird
apparent
cutaway.
reason, and he was like, "I hate humans," and he was never going to do anything ever again. And then he had a kid.
You know what I find funny? When you can see in Marvel movies what was only included for the trailer, and that was only included for the trailer.
Was it in the trailer?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I did notice a lot. so many scenes where I was like, "This is like."
I've never seen you show up with such urgency than that.
I don't know what to call it, but I suppose we can call it trailer bait.
Yeah,
like shots
it's like
that are just
only
for the
shots.
trailer.
You can really notice it in a lot of films, especially nowadays. Only shots which are included, and only sequences which last a second that are included for the trailer.
Because of that, 7 out of 10. All right, next character.
Okay, this is
Makkari.
our favourite, Makkari. Love.
Once again, who was Makkari?
The deaf girl.
Makkari was the deaf girl. By the way, Ben said this before we saw the film.
She
has been included in this podcast before in The Sound of Metal. I think that's probably the film we would recommend.
Is she deaf in real life?
Yeah.
I was going to ask this, but I feel like Sound of Metal is a film we'd recommend the most from this podcast. Would you guys agree?
Yeah. Actually, to be fair, it's a good film.
What's Sound of Metal?
Like, would you recommend out of all the films we've done on the podcast, The Sound of Metal as the film for our viewers
Maybe
to watch?
Scooby-Doo.
I agree with that.
What else have we done?
Okay, so Sound of Metal great, and I didn't realize she was deaf. Like, I thought she was deaf in real life, but I wasn't 100% sure.
She's in The Walking Dead as well. She's quite big in that
Shut
nowadays.
up! What?
Yeah.
Part did she play?
I know which one you're on about. What else?
No, she's come in like recently.
Lighthouse.
I haven't seen the recent
Sound
seasons.
of Metal, Alien, Another Round, Limbo. Oh no, I'd recommend Limbo. Limbo, fucking.
Oh yeah, actually Limbo's probably
Limbo. Okay, so Limbo and The Sound of Metal we'd recommend the most, but Lauren Ridolph acted in all these films and Eternals. Firstly, I think she's a really good actress. I think she's incredibly charismatic. I think she was one of the highlights of this film, performance-wise.
I did notice there was a big chunk where she was kind of left out because they were grouping everyone back together, and it was almost like it's hard to write deaf characters in because you have to do the sign language, and that takes a lot of more time than just speaking. Yeah. So I
think that's an excuse that's silly because also when she was about to come back, when they were grouping,
it felt like that was the reason why they left her.
I have one question. Can you speak sign language?
No.
Can you?
No.
So like,
I know a tiny bit of sign language, but not enough to have a conversation.
The entire cast spoke sign language.
Yeah.
And I mean, she'd been deaf for how long? So when was that developed? And blah blah blah. There's lots of questions surrounding that character. I'm
guessing she's deaf because, like, character-wise,
she was deaf.
I know, but character-wise, it makes a lot of sense because she moves faster than the speed of light.
I didn't even think about that. That makes sense.
I just thought maybe.
How did everyone know how to communicate with her? Sorry, I'm just picking points. Go on.
How did they know how to speak English? Like, realistically, there wasn't English at the time they were introduced to her.
I hate this.
Picky.
Sorry.
But 2 points. First point is response to Tom. The actress, Lauren Ridolph, obviously, like, I feel like that's just what you were saying, and the fact they spoke English and they knew sign language is kind of like, it's a film. It's a thing on a screen.
Yeah,
you don't really need an answer.
Why do they speak specifically ASL, not BSL kind of thing?
She was like talking.
I mean, these are the questions I'm asking, Ben.
She was talking in interviews about how, like, because obviously if she is deaf, like, how subtitles should be normalized, and how, like, for people who are hard of hearing or people who are deaf, like, it shouldn't be weird to have subtitles. It should be a normal thing, which I agree with, and I also think is cool. And then also, like, I literally remember thinking as we were watching the film, and like part of the film is they go around and they try and recruit the past people they knew, the Eternals, to join their team to fight people. And I remember thinking in my head, like, oh, when are we going to see her again? When are we going to meet her again? So long. And she wasn't really a part, like, she had maybe one scene in like the first half.
Well, she came back right at the end, didn't she?
Yeah, she had like one scene in the first half.
Like they didn't even think about finding her because she's like, they wouldn't be able to because she's in the wind.
And also, I don't even remember the scene where they met her. She just kind of showed up. But I remember thinking
she was in the ship and they rose it out the archaeologist's ground.
But I remember as a spectator thinking, like, I'm excited to see her. She's so charismatic. She's so cool. I want to see her. Like, let's get to her. And she was the last person who was brought in.
Maybe.
Which I'm not going to comment on whether that's ableist or not.
It's almost like
I really like.
It's almost like Marvel. It seemed like they didn't know which characters would be most sought after. Like,
Phastos, Sprite can go fucking slapping.
Druig and Makari, I'd say were the best characters.
Sprite.
No, Phastos, Druig, and Makari, I'd say were the better characters. They had the most like detail to their actual characters.
And
they had the better acting. Thena was decent as well, and they were the ones which were kind of left as side characters, whereas Cersei and Icarus took the main stage, and even I suppose Ajak in certain points. But like, I don't. It's like Marvel don't understand what the audience want to see. To be fair, I don't know what it would have been like if they would have.
I kind of agree, because if you're looking from a producer point of view, Richard Madden has been in Game of Thrones. He's a very established actor. Gemma Chan is a very up and coming, like, attractive actress.
Angelina Jolie's massive.
No, as a spectator coming to this film, I thought she would take a bigger role. I thought she was the main character. But also, like, balancing all these characters, I thought there was interesting points, but I think it wasn't. I think it was mainly the writing that failed them.
Yeah.
Because also, her only coming in super last was only the writing doing that. The other characters being shit was only the writing. When she was in, I'll give her a 7. I think she needed
9.
I think she needed more material to be above that. I don't think the script gave any of the material.
It's like Strictly. I'm the really I'm Bruno. I'm very negative. What? Very positive. What's his name? The very positive one who gives 10s out to
Definitely
everyone.
Craig Ravahol, mate. He gives 10s
maybe, and then you're just Darcy Bussell.
Anyway, you have not watched Strictly recently. Darcy Bussell is not in Strictly anymore, and neither is Bruno.
I'll give I don't know. Very average, 5 out of 10.
Okay, Tom, do you want to go on a full rant?
Well, I feel like
we've been keeping it away from you, and I think you need to unleash your fury for the sake of your mental health and your positive emotional well-being.
Are you sure about this? Should we let them off the lead?
I do not like Marvel. There's no Bond previously to the shagging.
Who's the shagging?
Shagging.
Shagging like sex.
The sex scene.
Well, Tom, when two couples love each other very much, they do. I've already had the
That's what he means. That's what he means. Like there wasn't enough relationship development.
Yeah, it was kind of like, oh, I fancy you, let's fuck.
Which you would do if you were an immortal. To be fair.
I mean, No.
I'm
not going to speak about my experience.
Come on, you guys are making excuses
have you not watched
for this.
Have you not watched like Big Brother or Love?
No, but it wasn't even that.
The fact you're talking about Big Brother when it's my life is kind of sad.
It was like
you lived with me for a year, bro.
You introduce. Can we not get off topic, please? This is my rant. This is my only chance to say things. So we you're introduced to this character, and she's in she is in a relationship with this normal fella, this human, and then an hour into the film, she's shagging this Icarus.
No, that was a flashback.
But you saw no Bond. You saw nothing where they were like, oh, lovey-dovey.
Yeah, it was that scene in the spaceship where they were like, the Earth looks pretty, and then The other one was like, yes, it does indeed. I know they're aliens. I know they had just been kind of like, they'd just woken up from...
Nah, we're just making excuses. We're just making excuses for a fat, steaming pile of wank that's just produced by execs, just made to make money, to get you to sit your ass on a fucking seat and to earn the money. That's all this is. No one throughout Marvel cares about filmmaking at all. They don't care about how you feel when you watch the film. They just want you there so you can pay their money to watch the film. That's all they care about, and that's where my rant finishes, because it's just...
I say it's half that is half like they care about story building. I understand where you're coming from, but I do think they genuinely care about story building to the point where like they have post credits in each one that sets up the next film, which in a way is just still like feeding into their kind of money building empire. But when was
the post credit scene introduced?
Huh?
When was the post-credit scene introduced?
In the
post-credits.
No, like in what Avengers film was there a post-credit scene?
Since the beginning.
I think it was since the beginning.
Since the first Avengers?
I think so.
Yeah.
But they do it...
Since the first Avengers, definitely, because they had the shawarma scene.
Obviously, they have a lot of people that are in it to make money. It is quite clear, like, they wouldn't be going on... they wouldn't have succeeded in such a way if their original idea wasn't to make a lot of money, kind of thing. If they didn't have people in there who were intelligent enough to kind of long it out this much. But there are definitely people that are good at world building, because it wouldn't be this successful without them. Welcome to the games round. Today on the Legless Tripod, we are fixing film endings.
Oh shit, I forgot about this.
Yes, you did.
We've been warned, and I have not thought about it since you warned.
I'm going to give you some fresh film endings. This accent is really
I know,
confusing.
I was thinking, are you going to like this in the edit?
No. Okay, so today...
You need to keep that earlier part in there.
Welcome to the Games Round, everybody. Today we are doing film endings. That's what we're talking about. I've got some films, and Elspeth and Tom are going to fix these film endings.
Damn straight.
Some of the endings are probably the best endings in cinematic history, and some of them I just feel like could be done a bit better. They're going to tell me how they'd fix these film endings, and I am going to rate their film endings. And I'm going to say who's better, and the person who isn't better has to drink a little drinky drink.
Yeah, I can't drink anymore.
Alrighty then. The first film that I want you guys to fix for me, and I'm going to say Ellie's going to go first because I feel like Tom needs his time.
His beauty sleep.
The first film that I want you to fix for me is the cinematic masterpiece Titanic.
I have an idea.
Okay, go.
Okay,
hit me.
so Jack, is his name right?
Yep.
He's in the engine room.
Okay.
And then Rose is by the door.
Okay.
And then he's speaking to Rose by the door. And then Rose ends up having to leave to like survive. And instead of him being on the side on a piece of wood that he could have survived, instead it cross cuts to him being in the engine room dying. Would that not have been more impactful?
To be fair, that would be terrifying.
That would be heartbreaking. Like him trapped in the engine room and him knowing he's going to die and convincing her to leave, and she's like, I'm not going to leave. And then he's like, you have to leave. And then she goes, and then she ends up surviving. And then while he's drowning in like a claustrophobic room after convincing the love of his life to leave. And also that would have been more realistic to the plot.
Yeah.
Like what actually happened.
It would be more hard-hitting with the kind of class divide.
It would have been more hard-hitting in the classified, and it would be more realistic to the actual film. I would say he's stuck in the engine room, stuck in his job, the door's been locked, Allah lost, and he's trapped on this. I think I made it up, but like, you know what I mean.
Okay,
that's the ending I'm going with.
That's your ending locked in. Tom Thane, how would you end Titanic?
I've never watched the film. I've just read the plot.
Yep.
I'm not a writer.
Yep.
Do I win yet?
Do I just finish my can now or what?
Okay, go ahead.
No. Like, what am I supposed to say to you?
You meant to give me a better ending to
How
Titanic.
can I? Let me read the plot again.
Can we say that I win and then Tom just drink?
But that's boring for the podcast.
I come up with an ending then.
Oh, well, what am I supposed to say? Oh, he doesn't die of hypothermia. They live happily ever after. Yeah, there you go. That's my answer.
Okay.
He doesn't die. He fit.
Drink up.
I am not a writer. I do not write films.
Well, I
tried.
Have a little sippy, Tom.
I shoot them.
You failed the round.
Fuck.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of happy with that.
Round does. Now, you've both watched this film, I believe. You might not remember the ending. This film is Inception, with another DiCaprio masterpiece, where in the end, Leo spins his little spinner thing, and it's on the table. He goes to play with his kids, and it wobbles a bit, but then it continues to spin perfectly, as if he was in a dream. Within a dream, within a dream, within a dream.
Do you know what I think?
I've never watched the film.
Yes, you've seen Inception. Everyone's seen Inception.
I've watched Inception, but I didn't fucking understand it. I watched it about 10 years ago.
Okay, well, my answer is, firstly, I feel like the wobbling thing, like, I get, like, they've defeated the bad guy. The wobbling thing, forgotten the name of it, has been incited as, if it falls over, you're not in another world. If it carries on spinning, you are. But I feel like it was kind of tacked on the end as like a moment.
Like you had to end it somehow. So it was
it was very anticlimactic. It was very obvious.
Is that not the most basic ending? Sorry, I'm ruining the game.
No, but I agree with Tom. I'd rather it would have just been like, oh, he's with his friends, and then like it dropped, and then last scene, or it all got fucked up. I think carrying on gives it like a very obvious reason to give interpretation. It's like, oh, it's so artsy. I'd rather it just dropped. And if it was like a proper shit outcome, like if they were still trapped in the thing and everything was going wrong, then it just dropped. Then it would kind of like displace what you thought. You were like, oh, they're in the... I'm going to say the Matrix, but I know I don't mean the Matrix. But they're in this another world and it's shit. Then it drops. And it's like, oh, fuck. That would fuck your head. It just carrying on is a bit like, well, of course they're going to do that.
But it doesn't just carry on.
Hold on. There's no need to...
I'm not arguing against point.
But you see what I mean?
No, this is one of the film endings that I liked, if I'm honest.
I haven't seen this film since I was like 11 with my family.
His kids die, the pain continues, and then it drops, and he goes back, and his kids are dead in the other world.
Mm-hmm. I kind of prefer Tom's one on this.
I'm going to be honest, I don't know what Tom said, but I do kind of prefer it.
I don't even know what I was talking about.
I don't know what I was talking about. I don't think I said anything, but I kind of prefer yours.
What any of you I haven't been listening.
I've not watched the film.
The last film is a childhood masterpiece, Matilda.
Bro, I don't even remember.
I've not watched any of these films.
I saw this when I was like
Okay, I'll re-jog your memory.
Please do.
Oh, you're so cute.
At the end of Matilda, the superhuman, I'd call her, the telekinetic badass, she gets adopted by her teacher and lives happily ever after.
She gets adopted by Sarah Paulson.
By her teacher, yes.
Who's lovely.
And
but I thought her teacher was horrible to her.
No, that's Miss Trunchbull.
Miss Trunchbull's horrible.
Sarah Paulson.
Is it a maths teacher?
Sarah Paulson is super nice and wears yellow.
She wears yellow. Okay.
And flowers.
What is a better way they could have ended Matilda, other than her just getting adopted, her family drive off into the distance, like her biological family, and she lives happily ever after.
I remember one was a car salesman.
Yeah, Danny
Ellie's had bad experiences with car salesmen.
What a cunt.
I mean, who hasn't? Let's be honest.
Tom, you can go first.
I'll go first. So Matilda, in the original story, I'll just recap for everybody else.
Jesus.
She gets adopted by a teacher, not Mrs. Trunchbull.
Miss Honey.
Oh, yeah.
You know it's not Sarah Paulson. Do you know that?
Is it not? Yeah. Who is it?
God, revelations.
Her name's Embeth Davids.
I swear I saw it.
With a Z?
With, it's David, TZ.
Okay,
Davids.
Go for it, Tom.
So, I feel like that's a very traditional American, heartwarming ending. I say she gets adopted by Mrs. Trunchbull. And she gets forced to live, like Harry Potter does in underneath the stairs. And she has to eat cake every day. Or not eat cake, but maybe run 5k because she's quite skinny. And Mrs. Trunchbull's dead scary. So she has to. Mrs. Trunchbull adopts her not out of her own goodwill, but out of necessity because this kid's got nowhere else to go.
It's quite a good ending.
We spoke about this in the pub before.
It's a sad ending for a children's film.
I don't give a fuck.
My original ending when we talked about this pub was going to be kind of similar. Mrs. Trunchbull, she adopts her. It turns into a full-blown horror. Hostel 2. Saw. Matilda is getting...
I feel like
you're not giving enough material to compete with.
There's been a bit of a breach of IP over here.
But also I feel like the main point of the main film is she never uses her power again because she's so happy.
Yeah, I don't agree with this.
Bullshit.
What power she got?
She's telekinetic.
She can move stuff. So my answer, which would appease you, Ben, would be she carries on moving stuff, and then she gets a fucking.
Oh, I've got a flaw in my own story now.
Person. But the reason I would look for is she gets adopted by Trunchbull. I feel like this is gonna make me seem crazy. You might have to edit this out. But she gets adopted by Trunchbull, full Saw vibes. Then Matilda goes for telekinesis, and it's just a crazy horror film. I would kind of live for that though.
Sounds like Carrie, doesn't it?
Yeah, imagine a Carrie ending to Matilda.
Yeah.
That would kind of be sick.
That would kind of be sick.
That would be really sick. I would actually kind of live for that.
I feel bad because Tom put a lot of effort into this.
But imagine a Carrie Matilda.
Quite similar to what I was thinking.
Oh, whoa. We'll have no personal back.
No, but imagine
it's all personal back.
Imagine Matilda goes to Trunchbull and then she ends up going a full Carrie moment. And it goes into family film horror canon.
And uses her powers for good.
That'd be sick. I think I win.
Fuck.
I do win. Even if I seem like I can't say this. But I do. You've already said I have.
He's just looked at me very guiltily and shit.
Yeah, because that would be a more entertaining ending, but she said it so simply in comparison to your...
Yeah, well, I mean, it's bollocks, isn't it? She just saw what I said and then was like, actually, that's quite good.
No, because I said it in the pub before we came out.
I actually don't remember you saying it in the pub, so...
Yeah, because you guys don't listen to anything at all.
Yeah, good.
Oh, fuck you. Okay, I win.
No, it's not been decreed yet.
I win.
It's not been
you
decreed.
lose.
Sorry, Tom. That was quite a good ending to Matilda. Please drink. Okay, so that is the end of the games round, and Elspeth is the winner of that game. Bravo,
Woo!
Well done.
You sound like the host of QI. I'm thoroughly enthused by that decision there.
Yay!
And it's also the end of season 1 of the Legless Tripods.
Oh,
Aww.
big sad.
So sad.
Big
so
sad.
But
it means better things to come in season 2.
definitely.
Like a more regular schedule.
A more regular schedule. We're going to make so many empty promises here. Like video content.
Ooh. Better quality audio.
Ooh.
Better films than Eternal.
Is that possible?
I don't think so. Cinematic masterpiece.
We're going to have an interview with The Rock in the first episode.
We're going to have an interview with The Rock. We're going to interview Jennifer Coolidge.
We're interviewing Kendrick Lamar.
It's going to be sick. It's going to be amazing. We're going to bring Freddie Mercury back from the... Sorry, I can't finish that. But anyway.
We're going to bring Freddie Murphy.
Famous celebrity Freddie Murphy is going to be on our show.
But anyway, basically, we hope we're going to have a great new list of films. We're going to have a more scheduled viewing. We're going to have some new, design. And it's going to be fun. And I hope...
What Ellie's trying to say is, we will see you next year.
Don't be mean to me.
I'm not.
Roll on 2022, people.
That was the top Scottish section.
I don't know where.
Where is this going? Can we just say bye? Can we just be like, bye, see you next year?
Yeah, bye, see you next year, lads.